I should mention I used to be a fire medical dispatcher, and so I dealt with um, a lot of cases of violence that I felt could have been avoided. And but I want to make a distinction that there's a difference between um, saying it could have been avoided and blaming the victim. So, what would you say if someone, I see, do the ferret face? Um, what would you say to someone who says, um, you know, you should have got out of there. You could have got out of there. It's your fault.
Okay, let's back up a bit.
Or if it sounds like that's what we're saying.
Oh, no. There's two types of blaming the victim. So you've got a coin that's got two sides. Neither one am I particularly happy with. Okay. First of all, one form of blaming the victim is total abrogation, or whatever that word is, totally writing off any participation in the creation of the thing. I have seen this, and part of the real growly expression, I have seen this taken to the point of the people saying, well, a woman should have the right to walk naked into a biker bar and not be molested. Now, God, what was it? Wolfgang Pauli's famous line? That's not only not right, that's not even wrong. Okay, I mean, we left wrong in the rear view mirror there. Part of the claim of blaming the victim is one of the strategies of in the 1950s and 60s was if a woman was raped, the defense attorney would go after, like, well, you were asking for it. Okay, so that was you're blaming the victim, right? Well, I have a friend who this woman walked into a bar in a see-through top, a micro mini skirt, right? And my friend was a bouncer, and he says, lady, well, she came in with her friends. Her friends left. She didn't want to leave. And my friend was like, lady, please let me call you a cab. We'll get you. It's like, no, I'm going to walk over to this bar where they're at. And it's like, lady, please don't. Right. And it was a rough bar. Well, when they found her and she lived, thank God, she had 5 different sperm donors in her. Okay. Yeah, she was gang raped. Okay. But she left the bar. My friend's like, that was his area that he was under control, and he tried everything in his power to, Now, there are people who say, well, you're blaming the victim.
No, of course not. I'd say of course it's not her fault, but dressing like that and trying to walk to another bar was
You're
not
blaming the victim.
not very responsible.
Yeah, well, okay, as I like to say, you know what, ladies, a rapist is a runaway train. Okay, he is entirely responsible for his actions. Now get off the tracks. Okay, don't insist on your right to be on the tracks. All right. And, that's one form of blaming the victim, which is totally little Bo Peep never does anything. It's, they had no part and parcel in what happened. Yeah, actually, that was a really bad set of decisions. Could she avoid being raped by not doing them? Uh-huh. So are we blaming her for saying take responsibility for your own safety? Right? That's one form of blaming the victim. The other form of blaming the victim, well, anytime you get involved in violence, somebody's going to be unhappy with your decision. Okay. Doesn't matter what, somebody's going to be unhappy. When that someone has the power of the state behind them. Okay. Now, one of the things that I've talked, since I deal with DAs, since I deal with lawyers, there are DAs out there who believe if somebody dies, there's a crime. It has to be a crime. And they're going to find any way to prosecute it. Okay. And blaming the victim in that case takes a different thing. I had a public defender from a particular district, and I'm not going to mention which one, tell me to my face that in this district there is no self-defense because the prosecutor is going to prosecute everything. Okay. And this was a case where the 64-year-old man was assaulted by a roofer, and the guy was beating him down, right? And they were going to, they prosecuted him, right? Guy used a knife to defend himself. Now, again, finding an excuse where they like, okay, if we find this one thing, everything else you do past that isn't self-defense. Like Raul Rodriguez leaving the property in pursuit of a quarrel. There are self-defense cases, but self-defense cases are usually a slam dunk for the prosecutor because you already admitted to claim self-defense, you have to admit that you did it. Okay. Saudi, some other dude did it, is the most common defense for illegal violence. I didn't do it. Some other dude did it. The next common one is self-defense. The guy, it was self-defense, right? This is peeing in the pool of self-defense. When you claim self-defense and you are taking the burden of proof, and that's the wrong term way people understand it. The burden of proof shifts to you. You have to show and explain how you knew the danger. You have to be able to explain, I knew this. When I saw this, I reasonably believe there was a danger. Okay. Now, a cop, and I've seen this happen. I had a friend who cop asked him, he goes, okay, so how did you know a guy was attacking? And my friend says, well, he wasn't wearing a shirt, he was charging, and he was screaming. Right? And cop went, okay. Okay. Now, I've also worked cases where the DA decides, you know what, arrest this guy. He's not even there. He's not heard what you've said. Right? Somebody called the DA, I got this, and the DA says, arrest him, or somebody higher up. So the decision to arrest may not be made by somebody on the scene. Okay. I know another public defender who, home invasion, dude was like 6'4", came through the door. There were a couple of mistakes, but bottom line, the guy shot the home invader. He got prosecuted. Okay. And he asked the prosecutor, why are you prosecuting this? It's a home invasion. There's like 120-pound difference between these two guys. And it's like, well, he could have run. It's like, we don't have a duty to retreat law here. Okay. He was in his own house. Why are you this was a home invasion. Why are you prosecuting? And the DA looked him straight in the face and said, we don't want civilians or citizens taking the law into their own hands.
So could the police have shown up in the few seconds he had to really make a decision?
It wasn't from the police. This was from the DA ordering this arrest to charge. So, when you're talking about blaming the victim, again, that coin's got two sides, right? That number one, you have the people who are saying you have no responsibility for what happens to you, and you can't do anything. You are the victim, which makes it part of the victim industry, right? They manufacture victims. The other thing is that they're going to turn you into the bad guy. You know, it's like, look, I was the victim here. It's like, no, you're not. You're the bad guy. So either version of blaming the victim sucks.